Welcome to another edition of Digital Marketing 101. I'm Solomon Timothy. Today's question is, how do I put together a digital marketing strategy? Let's dive in. You know, I love this question because not many people are thinking about strategy when it comes to digital marketing. They're thinking about execution. The first few years of our existence, most clients that would call us and say, hey, we need Facebook ads, or we need Google ads, we need a website. Constantly, the customers were just like really sure what they need is the thing that they call for, right? It's like me calling a dentist and say, hey, dentist, I need a root canal. He's like, okay, when would you like to come in? And it's like, I've already diagnosed my problem. I prescribed a solution. Now I just need to call the nearest dentist and schedule an appointment to give me a root canal. It's what that sounds like. When you're shooting from the hip, different marketing tactics, thinking that it's going to work, or all you need is more Google ads, or all you need is another landing page. All you need is a couple of videos on YouTube and you would be fine, right? That's typically the approach a lot of companies use when it comes to digital marketing, or when they're searching for a digital marketing partner. They're typically the one that says, hey, I already know what I want. I just need somebody to do it. But the reality is, if you actually followed through on that, do you get the results that you're looking for, right? And if you didn't get the results, was it your fault? Was it the fault of the agency partner you worked with, or the marketing consultant, whatever it is you want to say? Or was it something a little bit deeper? Perhaps we didn't have the right strategy to begin with. This is a great question because this is coming from somebody who's really thinking about, hey, results. I want to get this as my result. I want to get X, right? I'm gonna draw the money bag because like the money bag emoji sounds really cool. This is the goal that we're trying to have. But I want to make sure I hit the jackpot. I don't want to waste my time doing all these activities thinking that I'm going to hit the jackpot, never ever to see it, right? That's the ultimate sad news. So I don't want to do that. I want to put together a strategy that's going to get me the gold mine. So this is a great question. This is something that we've done for practically every single client. When we onboard a client, we actually put together a strategy. We call this the growth blueprint. What we do is we actually identify every area of their business, from their marketing, their first touch, to every nurture sequence, figuring out what that sales process is like, when does it go to a sales rep, and finally, how do they become a customer? That buyer's journey is completely mapped out, that we segment every single piece and then figure out what do we need to do to get to the jackpot, right? What do we need to do to get to that money bag, if I may? That is ultimately the goal. So in order to break this down, I'm going to give you a couple pieces of our growth blueprint that we work on that might be of interest for you if you're putting together a strategy for your customers. So first and foremost, I would start off with a SWOT analysis. What is a SWOT analysis? It is basically identifying the strengths, the weakness, the opportunities, the threats of the company. And that would be the first thing that I would want to know. I want to know, where are we good at? What are we really bad at? As a company, where are the weak spots? And you want to know that. Why? Because you really want to prep for the things that you're vulnerable to. So we want to make sure that we go around that. We're gonna fix this problem. What about the opportunities? What is that? What is that jackpot? What does that look like? How much is that? What's that market? How many customers are we talking? At what dollar amount? And within that, the ideal customers, right? If we were to get 10% of that, what's that market look like? Why should we invest this much time and energy? And that is going to help you understand the why. Why are we doing this? And then finally, the threats, right? So you want to make sure what could happen to the whole industry. Could it get wiped out? Some regulatory changes can happen and then now we're screwed, right? We'll lose everything. So understanding that can really enable us to put on the right track. Then I would look into competitors. Who are my competitors? What are they doing? Are there competitors that are small right now, but they could get really big in 6 months? You know, are they have some outside investment coming in? Anything that can help me identify what is going to happen to this industry, to our company. If these guys if they play their card right, are we in trouble, right? Should we be prepared for it? The answer is you should be prepared. But should you wake up every morning and look at what your competitors are doing? Absolutely not. I hate that concept. I would never worry about what my competitors are doing. It does not matter to me. If you ask Apple, are they waking up every morning and see what Microsoft is doing? The answer is no. But is Microsoft waking up every morning looking at Apple? Absolutely yes. So that's what you don't want to be. You want to make sure that you're laser focused on your customer. You're laser focused on the problems of your customer. You're laser focused on figuring out what can you do to move the needle for your customers, right? You want to make sure that your solutions are going to not just meet their needs, but exceed their expectations. That is what you should do, not what your competitors are doing. They're working with probably less information than you have in your organization, right? You might actually have more information about the problems and the challenges of your customers, so you can come up with a better solution, in my opinion. I like the companies that are focused on the customer, not on the competitors, but it is good for you to know who they are, even if you didn't identify them. Maybe they're on Google, maybe they're buying Google ads, maybe they're doing things, maybe they're creating content, maybe they're building a community. You might want to know what that is, right? That would be definitely a part of my strategy. Then I would go into what are the channels that I can use to market my business, right? What am I going to do? Am I going to create content? Am I going to be using social channels? Where are my customers hanging out at? Who are they and how do I reach them, right? To me, strategy is what is it that I am not going to be doing, not so much what is it that I'm going to be doing. If you think about that, think a little bit harder. Here's what we're not going to do. It has to be absolutely clear when you're figuring out your strategy. And then figuring out the things that you are going to be doing, how are you going to do them? What channels? What are the messaging strategy? What would be an example of a blog post? How frequently are we going to create it? And where does that content lead to? I don't think I've ever done a digital marketing one-on-one without the funnel. So I got to do it this time. So if you just let me do it, it'd make me feel so much better. So you got to say, hey, what are those pieces of content that we're going to create and how are they going to get there, right? Are we going to do paid? Are we going to do organic? Are we going to do some social? Are we doing some affiliate? Are we going to build partnerships? Are we going to do digital PR? How are we going to drive traffic? Once you figure that out, what is the next step? What is the logical next step for my customers to go to? Do they do a demo? Is there a webinar? Is there something, a checklist they download? What do you want them to do? Do you want them to fill out a form? Then design that, right? That would be the next step. And then further down, what's next? Is there a salesperson involved? Is it self-checkout? Do they buy online? Whatever that might be. Is it a free month trial? Figuring that out if you're a SaaS provider. And then getting their credit card, and if that's a transaction that happens online. But if it's a proposal, is an RFP, whatever that is, that's what you want to really map out. That buyer's journey, where they are, where they don't even know they have a problem, to knowing that they have a problem and figuring out that you have a solution, and then making sure that your solution is the best solution that meets their needs, and then finally making an informed decision to work with you is what I will put in my strategy. And that means that you've really got to nail every pieces of that. You got to nail, where am I going to advertise? How much am I going to advertise? What are some of the pieces? How am I going to go in that angle? What does that messaging strategy look like? And what about the content that I'm going to be creating? How frequently, on what channels? And would I be creating audio content, video content, text, social? That really is a big piece that it's going to take maybe pages and pages. The best thing about that is that this is a living document. This is not something like you wrote a business plan 20 years ago when you started the company. That should not be how you treat your digital marketing strategy. The way that I would treat it is actually my blueprint. This is what I'm going to use. If I'm building a house and I have a contractor, I paid millions of dollars, hey, build me this custom house, I'm going to give him a blueprint. Hopefully he's not going to give me something else than what I've given him. That's exactly what you want to do. Whether you execute this in-house, you have 5 partners helping you execute it, the blueprint is the blueprint. You can have contractors and subcontractors and more subcontractors like a builder. And what are you going to get? Is the blueprint. So to me, I would like to follow the proverb, measure twice, cut once. So I like spending a lot of time and energy figuring out my strategy because, to be honest, it's much more important that I invest a little bit of time here than to shoot from the hip and just start throwing things at the wall and start seeing what sticks, like a lot of companies, right? A lot of companies don't grow because they are unwilling to take a minute and to really figure out what is it that we want and why do we want it and what are we going to do to get there. And that could take a month if you ask me. And having a couple of phone calls with the leadership team to really figure out what are we going to do and why are we doing it and how are we going to achieve it and how will we know when we get there, right? What does that mean? Is it dollar amount? Is it number of leads? Is it customers? Are we buying a building? Like, tell me what that means. I really want to know why, because it's really important to really articulate what does that success look like. We like to say smart goals and at 1IMS and in marketing, but is it realistic, right? Is it time bound? Can we actually get there? And that's what you want to be able to do. And this document, whether it's a Google Doc or a web page or whatever it is that you create, should be a live document that you're looking at and you're tweaking it as you're understanding more about your customer base. So how do I put together? Well, first and foremost, you actually have to think a little harder and define who your audience is and start getting a crack at it every single day or every hour that you put into it, taking a different component of it. And that could be the SWOT analysis, that could be the competitors, that could be the strategy that you're going to use, and putting a complete strategy from beginning to end. What do you want your customers to do? And then once that's done, putting some timeline. Here's the first thing that we're going to need to do. Maybe it's revamping the website. Maybe it's a content strategy. Maybe it's hiring some people. Maybe it's hiring a videographer to create content like this. Whatever that outcome is going to be defined with some timeline, and then you get to work. Then you get to work and start measuring things and say, hey, Q1, this is what we achieved. This is what we planned on doing. Are we on par? Are we on top of it? Did we lose it? Are we 10% behind or 50% behind? And realistically being true to yourself, and then tweaking it so the next month, the next quarter, the next week, you can execute better and get to those goals, right? Nobody just writes down the goals and get to it in 1 week or 1 month, but it definitely takes time. It's going to take some iteration. It's going to take some tweaking, and that's what you want to be able to do. So if you're looking for more help on strategy, hey, this is one of our favorite things to do here at 1IMS. We have over 100 consultants who are not just doing the strategy, but also executing the strategy once that's done, right? So if you like this video, thank you so much for watching. First of all, click that like button, consider subscribing, leave me a comment, tell me where's your biggest challenge when it comes to coming up with strategy. Are you just like blanking out? If that's you, then we'll love to have a follow-up, right? We really want to make sure that we help you get to where you're going. Man, that gold mine, that money bag emoji, my favorite emoji of all emojis. How's that? And that's what you want to be going after. And if you're an entrepreneur, you put your mind to it, I know you can reach there, but you want to get there smarter, right? You want to measure twice, cut once. May that be your marketing strategy. Invest more time planning than just shooting from the hip and trying to see what sticks, because chances are you're going to miss and you're going to wonder what you did wrong and why didn't you get to the actual ultimate goal for your organization. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.